Ladies
Boom
and
shot.
gentlemen, Crypto Love,
What is up?
Sasha Otter,
Hi.
and Miss Lyn Ulbricht. Look, I am actually very excited and very intrigued by this whole thing that we have going on. But first, I want to let everybody kind of give a brief introduction to themselves, and then we're going to get ready to rumble here. I guess we'll start up at the top square for $2.
Oh,
Crypto
me?
Love.
Oh, me.
Him.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I am Randall from Crypto Love. I have a cryptocurrency YouTube channel where I talk about cryptocurrencies. And I'm super excited for this because, I mean, I met Lyn in Philadelphia not too long ago. But, I mean, I think personally, a lot of the reason why Bitcoin is so popular is because of, efforts that are made by people like Ross. So I'm excited for what's going on here. Also because I think there's a huge social injustice going on. So we'll talk about all that stuff today.
All right, Sasha.
Hi there. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, my name is Sasha Hodder, or on Twitter I go by Sasha Hodler, and been friends with Lyn for a little while, and very supportive of her, and I love watching Lyn, all of her passion, and I think Ross is very lucky to have a mother like her.
Well, thanks, Sasha. Yeah, I'm Lyn Ulbricht, and yeah, my identity has become Ross Ulbricht's mother. That's what my identity is now. But yeah, he's the defendant in the Silk Road case. He got a sentence for all nonviolent charges of double life plus 40 years without the possibility of parole. It used to be parole was automatic after 30 years. That was taken away in the 80s. So anybody in the federal system who gets life serves their entire life unless somehow they can get out of there, which is horrible in my opinion. But in any case, he's in there for his role in the Silk Road website, and no victims came forward at trial, and no one claimed that Ross harmed him in any way. He was not convicted of anything like that, and yet he's serving a double life sentence, and I believe it's a political sentence.
So when you say his role in Silk Road, obviously I think most people know what the Silk Road was. My understanding, now I've done some reading on this afternoon, because I wasn't 100% sure of the details of everything. And obviously the Silk Road is the nefarious marketplace for all things bad, right? I mean, hitmen, drugs, prostitutes, weaponry. I mean, you name it, you were able to get it, right? Is that the Silk Road, or am I mistaken?
No, that is not accurate.
No.
Okay, and correct me.
Drug-related violence went down due to Silk Road. That's stuff that they've seen, but I'm sorry to interrupt. Lyn?
No, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
But no, hitmen were not on there. It was weapons, I believe, were on there very briefly and taken off and not allowed. It was based on a philosophy of voluntary interaction. So anything that created victims was not allowed. That included, say, child pornography. That was not allowed. Stolen property, things that created a victim. So, and there were many legal things on there, books and clothing and gold and art and lots of things.
Milk, different farm products.
Raw milk.
You buy milk on the Silk Road.
Raw milk, because a lot of times people couldn't get it.
Or was that maybe for preppers? That kind of stuff, like dry milk?
I really like raw milk. If I can get it, I drink it. It's full of probiotics. But in any case, and it's not, pasteurized to death. But in any case, people bought all kinds of things. And the drugs that were sold was 70% cannabis, user amounts of cannabis. So the image of Silk, the site, and I'm not necessarily defending everything on the site or anything like that, but
and excuse my ignorance, I just
sensationalized.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Sorry, I've never been on the Silk Road, so all I know really is just kind of what I've read, what I've seen, and I could be confusing the Silk Road website specifically with just the dark web overall. Right, so that's excuse
all
me.
That happens. It gets conflated with that, and also don't believe everything you read.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten to where I believe hardly anything I read in the media.
Right. So obviously your son had some sort of code. Basically, nothing available if it created a victim.
Yeah, the Silk Road site that was based on that kind of philosophy. Yes, that is correct. Peaceful interaction, voluntary interaction, exchange, and the only thing used to buy and sell was Bitcoin. That was the only means of exchange, which I think is actually why they came after Ross so hard. I think it was Bitcoin. I don't think it was and this upstart new currency that what is this? We can't control this money. What's going on? Another kind of money. And because other defendants in the case that actually were convicted of actually selling drugs, which Ross wasn't, got very much lower sentences, 10 years and lower. So there's a huge disparity in the sentencing, and I think it was because of Bitcoin.
Lyn, that's one part that I found almost mind-blowing from your presentation, was that there are the top sellers for marijuana, for methamphetamine, for all these different drugs, and at the very most they got 10 years. And then the person who made Silk Road 2.0 did no time whatsoever.
Correct.
And somehow...
And sold more drugs.
Yeah, and somehow Ross got convicted for 2 life sentences plus 40 years without parole, which is, unheard of.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. The biggest drug seller on Silk Road got 10 years. The biggest cocaine and heroin seller got 5. The biggest meth seller got 3. Mm-hmm. And it kept going down. And then Blake Benthal, who was running Silk Road 2.0, was arrested for it. The government said it was an identical site except bigger. He spent 13 days in custody, and he is, I don't know where, but he's not in the prison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's not right. You should, there shouldn't be this kind of sentencing disparity.
No.
So basically, Ross is the poster boy for the government coming down on people, but apparently he's the only one. Everybody else was. I mean, what's the point in using somebody as kind of the poster child for what we're going to do to people who do this if he's the only one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they got their trophy, didn't they?
How long has he been in?
It'll be 5 years, October 1st. So within 5 days, it'll be 5 years.
And how old is he?
I can't believe it. 34.
Mm-hmm. 34
he was 29 when he was arrested. He was 26 when he created the site. Yeah. Very idealistic. He was very much about freedom, privacy, monetary freedom. He saw the potential for that with Bitcoin. And initially he started a video game that was based on Austrian economics and free markets, and that didn't get published. And so he returned to the internet and created this. There's a lot of question that he ran the whole thing and was the only Dread Pirate Roberts. Personally, I think he definitely wasn't. But he's taking the blame for everything.
Especially because there was
years ago that there were a lot of people impersonating him. Like Crypto Love, myself, we all have people that impersonate us all over the internet, ripping people off, scamming people. Mm-hmm. So, and it's pretty widely known now. It's, ICO companies are constantly emailing me and messaging me, hey, did you just contact me for XYZ? No, it's a scammer. Mm-hmm. So I did, and I read something years ago when I was first introduced to this whole situation about Ross and how there seemed to be a lot of people kind of coming out pretending to be him and trying to pull all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and there's there's Facebook accounts and Twitter accounts with his name, and but on the site, even the corrupt federal agents had the ability to act as Dread Pirate Roberts. They had full access to the site. So but I think also there were many people who just used that handle to run the site. It was a huge site. And Ross is not a computer programmer. To think that he alone on a laptop ran this without computer programming training is pretty ridiculous, actually.
And Lyn, didn't someone log in while Ross was in jail under that username? So doesn't that make it pretty definitive that it wasn't just him?
Yes. Absolutely. Ross was in solitary confinement, but this evidence was discovered after trial. So unless we get a new trial, I can't use it except to tell people. But yeah, Dread Pirate Roberts logged into the Silk Road forum because it wasn't taken down with the site. It was with the marketplace. It was still up for about 7 weeks.
Well, Lyn, can you share with everyone I mean, kind of what happened with the trial, because I think that's at least what I'd hope to do with this here, because there's so much misinformation. Like there were alleged violent crimes or stuff like that people thought he was being arrested for, or I forget exactly what it was, but and then he had no violent crimes related to it, and then the government agents, the DEA agents who were accusing him of these crimes are arrested and imprisoned now for stealing money. So it's just like, it's all this stuff is just like, it's too good to be true. Like, it couldn't all just happen like this. So could you just share with everyone kind of like the story of what supposedly happened?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do the Reader's Digest version. You know, it's very complicated, like you say. As regards those agents, one was DEA and one was Secret Service, also working for the NSA at the time, with all the tools available for that. And they were not permitted, the jury was not permitted to be known that they even existed or were on the site. So they had the run of the site. They could change passwords, PIN numbers, any data on there, and any content, as well as commandeer accounts, including Dread Pirate Roberts' account, and act as these different accounts. And yet, this was not permitted to be known by the jury. And so that's a big problem in my mind. As regards
Why wasn't, Lyn, when I was going through this stuff a little bit in the last couple of days, was part of the reason that the jury couldn't know that because jury tell the initial lawyer was trying to make it so that Ross wasn't taking ownership of his possibility of being Dread Pirate Roberts. So they said, you know, they didn't admit to that, but had they admitted that, then they could have blocked that stuff for being illegally searched. Was there an issue like that?
I think you might be thinking of the server,
Okay.
him not claiming standing. As regards the agents, and he didn't, and that may have been a terrible mistake, but he didn't. And took the advice of our lawyer, you know. The agents, they said, the prosecutor said, well, we can't have the jury know about it because it'll be public and it'll ruin our investigation. Well, that was a lie, because these agents had already been interviewed. They knew very well that they were under investigation, but they did not want those agents being part of the trial because, of course, it would cast reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. It taints the whole thing. And
they stole $1.2 million from him or something like that. Yeah.
Well, from vendors on the site.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of them is one of the ones that set up this alleged murder for hire plot that supposedly Ross was the person talking to him in a chat. That has not been proven at all. Mm-hmm. And the guy is now, he's a corrupt agent. He's in jail. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're supposed to believe.
Wait a minute. So there was an agent in charge of part of the investigation of the case who is now in prison. And you have additional information. A couple of them?
Mm-hmm.
Two.
Really?
And
two of them?
Third one, and it looks like there's a third that came out after the trial. Yep.
And none of this is somehow enough to reopen the case?
Apparently not. Apparently not. Just fine.
I think today is like such a momentous day for it because today is like the register to vote day. And so basically when you register to vote, you're also registered for jury duty, which, you know, voting is this illusion that we actually have some type of freedom and control. And the reason why people go to Bitcoin instead of fiat currencies is because they used to have full faith and credit in governments. But now they're losing that, and they're losing that in the government money, so they're going to Bitcoin. Same thing with, I mean, this type of trial and what's going on with our legal system. Like, it just, when people can talk about it freely like we're doing on YouTube, I mean, as freely as we can on YouTube, but like people get to see what happens in this and how this stuff is so unjust, and it just happens anyways. And so we lose faith in the justice system as well, because stuff like this can happen, and they just say, you know what, it's we're setting an example. I know it's kind of like, we'll just use our power here or do whatever we do, but it blows my mind.
We are all in peril from it. Mm-hmm. We are all in peril in the situation. We're losing our protections, or if we haven't lost them all already, the right to a fair trial. The National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers just recently wrote a whole paper on how the trial by jury is becoming extinct.
Mm-hmm.
We're absolutely losing it. 98% of people plea because they're bullied or threatened by prosecutors that if they don't plea, even if they're innocent, that if they go to trial, they're going to lose and get a worse sentence. They're intimidated. And so they're losing all the rights that go along with the jury trial, which is a pillar of our, supposed individual rights in this country.
And I saw in an interview that you did that they would give like 7,500 pages of evidence the day before or a few hours before trial, and Ross would have to choose between eating lunch or actually reading that material. Yeah, that's not a fair trial.
Yeah, that went on for months. But actually, the reason that the Dread Pirate Roberts logging in after he was in prison, and the tampered evidence, there was tampered evidence too that was found. That was big portions of evidence were deleted. Very important parts of the evidence that the jury never saw because it was deleted, probably by a third corrupt agent. And the reason it wasn't found is because of this huge document dump that they do, where I think it was like 4 terabytes worth. It was like, what is that? 1 billion typewritten pages? I don't know. Mm-hmm. It's a lot. And you can't humanly go through it in time.
Wouldn't that be the lawyer's responsibility to do anyway?
Yeah. But
isn't there a law against like last minute disclosure? It's everything about this just sounds odd.
Well, it seems like the whole entire thing was rigged because Ross was in California when he was arrested and they brought him to New York State for the trial where there were already people against him accusing him of doing stuff. He was never innocent until proven guilty. He was guilty until
nobody ever is
sentenced. Yeah.
No, Chuck Schumer, the senator from New York, was behind this whole thing. He congratulated the Justice Department before trial when Ross was arrested. Good job, you got your man. And I'm like, hang on, we haven't had a trial yet, Chucky. Mm-hmm. But he went ahead and.
When I think about this, and look, I'm known to play devil's advocate a bit, right? And look, I sympathize greatly, but I have some question because I think I try to put myself on both sides of the fence with just about any situation. If my wife and I are arguing, I think, okay, well, how is she feeling right now, and why would she be upset with me, and vice versa, right? I try to understand both sides, and you're not going to like me for this, but I'm just being very honest. Now, first of all, why the dark web? If he's just selling, obviously there's a lot of products, a lot of things available. Why go to somewhere that is notorious for a lot of other things to run a site like this? And
it's the privacy. It was the privacy aspect of it, I believe. It was all about privacy and anonymity.
Okay, fair enough. The other side of it is I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm a government official, or I'm an agent, or I'm Chuck Schumer, or I'm somebody in a position of power, and I've got this young, smart kid who is dabbling in well, not dabbling. I mean, the guy, a multi-million-dollar, business ultimately under the noses of the government, evading, I'm sure, taxes. I mean, let's face it, it's all Bitcoin. Okay, so he's not paying any taxes. He's not really serving anybody in the public with this project. And then I am one of I'm sure dozens of people involved with this case that want to help my own career on this kid's back, right? And it's very easy for people in positions of power to use people that are perceived to be dark and nefarious, help expand on that picture with my own vision, right? And like, oh, he's a dark web terrorist because he sells pot on a website. Whoop-de-doo. The reality is one thing, but perception is reality for the public, right? And so by that very nature, if I'm looking to build my reputation, my career, whatever it is, yeah, I'm probably going to do everything I can to make sure this kid gets everything possible thrown at him so that there's no chance for him to get out and me to lose. It's like, in every movie, all the cops are going after the biggest cases, the biggest busts, the biggest collars because they want to build their career and build their name. So I guess my devil's advocacy didn't really work out so well. I think either way you slice it, it's kind of difficult. Yeah, it's kind of difficult to slice this any other way, obviously. But I mean, Now, I was trying to find everything that he was originally, like, that he was charged with and convicted with. I found it earlier this afternoon. There was like 7 major charges. I mean, ranging from anything from, I saw, well, one of them was drug trafficking, but I guess that wasn't actually, well, we all know he wasn't.
Well, it's a conspiracy to drug traffic. So they use conspiracy laws all the time. It's like, so they're not saying he did it. They said
they're just saying that he knew it was happening under his watch.
Yeah, it's the part of a conspiracy.
Charges, it's so broad, as even if you take one step to further the act of a crime, something like making a phone call, you're now part of a conspiracy. So
and you're responsible for the entire thing, right, Sasha?
Exactly.
Well, also it was kind of like this whole war on drugs thing, and I think the war on drugs is just a misnomer. I think it's kind of a war on free thought, where the government has this war on drugs, but really it's to keep people in line, to keep us all sheep. Now, I may be some type of conspiracy theorist here, but like, here's the thing. In the 70s was the last time when we had a lot of drugs, and people were free thinkers back then, and the government didn't like it because everybody was going on strike. They weren't going to work. They weren't going to war. They weren't doing what the government said. And then after that, we had this huge cocaine epidemic. Where does it come from? Colombia, where our government has very nice ties with Colombia, and their national product is cocaine. And now we have this whole war on drugs against everything. And this is just like another example, because, I mean, you look at Bitcoin, you look at libertarianism, anarchism, all of that, it's all free thought. It's people trying to think differently, think outside the norms. And I think this is just like another, let's make an example.
They said they were making an example. And that's not what justice is supposed to be in America.
No.
That's what they said. But the point about the drug war is good, and you're right. And, you know, it's been going on now for over 45 years. The taxpayers of this country have spent over $1 trillion with a T dollars, and they can't even keep drugs out of the prison, never mind stop drug use in general. So it's just a huge failure, and it has terrible destructive effects, and doesn't stop people from using drugs. But it makes the government a ton of money, and it shreds our constitutional protections and expands our power. And of course, it feeds mass incarceration. Over half the people in prison now are in there for drug crimes. You know, many of them nonviolent. I mean, Ross has a friend in where he is now who's serving life for selling marijuana, and the prison is in Colorado, which on a state level is marijuana is legal, and this guy he's done 13 years already.
That's crazy.
It's horrible. It's just, but you know what? There's a lot of money to be made here, and I've said before, you know, if you're making money off of human beings, it's human trafficking. That's what our government is engaged in, with this mass incarceration and these excessive sentences and just this machine. And then you see the kids, because I go all the time, see Ross and everything, and I get to know the families and the children. And, you know, it's just heartbreaking to see them being torn from their fathers, just shattered, sobbing. And, you know, the statistics show that they're probably going to end up in prison too. That is just kind of the machinery that's being run here and feeding human beings into it to create this nightmare that has made the United States the biggest incarcerator in the world.
Very true. There's definitely no arguing that. You know, when I think about the situation, I mean, it's obvious, you know, I think this is just a situation where, you know, the punishment definitely does not fit the crime. And, you know, he no offense, but he's no angel. I mean, anybody, in my opinion, on the dark web isn't exactly, you know, working for charity. Okay, but, you know,
he's not a demon either. He's not a demon.
Right, absolutely.
He's terribly demonized. Yeah.
I agree. Well, I mean, that's how you sell a case like this to the public. For every, you know, it's how you get people to look the other way, you know, in some sense. So I get it. You know, I saw there was another story. There was a guy, I think he was just selling his Bitcoin. Now, I don't think there were many exchanges at the time. He was like selling Bitcoin. And he ended up getting like, I think 3 to 5 years. This was early on, you know, and he wasn't even really doing anything illegal. He was just, you know, I don't know if it was a tax evasion thing. I mean, they still don't even really know what the hell Bitcoin is. So I don't know how we're all paying taxes on this stuff yet to begin with. But you know, I guess where are you at now? Like, what is the situation right now? As I understand it, there's either currently or has been a recent appeal attempt. Has that been thwarted, or is that still ongoing?
No, it's been the appeal was denied. The petition to the Supreme Court was denied, which basically that decision impacts us all, by the way, and I can talk about it a bit. But in any case, that was denied, and so direct appeal is off the table, and so that's hence our petition, freeross.org/petition, to get enough signatures to be able to say to the president, please commute Ross's sentence. There's 500,000 people who think you should look at this, that this is the punishment doesn't fit the crime, that this is wrong. And it sets a terrible precedent for sentencing in this country, which is so excessive. So, you know, I just would like to go back to the pre-drug war days when you know, there was about 180,000 people in the prisons. Now it's metastasized 800%. There's 17,000 people serving life that are non-violent. That wasn't, when I was growing up, if you were non-violent, you did not get life. I mean, it just didn't, hardly anybody did. And you'd have to be a mass murdering maniac to get it. And now
murderers only get 20 years. I mean, what? You know, it's a murderers only get 20 years.
Well, so, or they get the death sentence.
Well, yeah, one or the other. But you know, there are people who have done some really messed up stuff and have gotten much less time.
Yeah, life sentence is a long death sentence. That's what it is.
Right.
So so people who want to help, because I know myself, like this just, the whole thing just kind of irritates me. It's just kind of like, you know, it feels very unfair, very unjust. So how can people help? We can sign the petition. We can talk with other people about it. If we know lawyers or people in the justice system, we can talk with them about it. Are there any other ways that we can help?
Well, you know, to have the support of the cryptocurrency community means a lot. I think that Ross has been portrayed as this kingpin. What a joke. Kingpin, like he's Pablo Escobar or something, because he's a website host. But in any case, what the truth is, he's a technological innovator and a free market person, and, you know, believed that drugs were a choice. You know, the things that weren't a choice were not allowed. So, you know, to change the narrative and change his image and to understand that it is about Bitcoin. Chuck Schumer was a senior ranking member on the Senate Finance Committee and Banking Committee. He's very much closely tied with financial powers that be. And I really believe that that's what really this is about. And, you know, to have the support of the cryptocurrency community and Randall, you mentioned in the beginning, it's like some people have said, without Silk Road, it was the first proof of use. It was the first place that was actually used as a currency. It wouldn't be. Do you really think there would be a Bitcoin the way we know it without that? And I'm not saying I'm not defending everything about it at all. Believe me, I wish Ross had never had the brilliant idea. But, you know, here we are, and it would be helpful to have this, when we do have a lot of support from the cryptocurrency community, but more and more people saying he's one of our own and he is not an evil villain and this is wrong. Any political connections people have would be really helpful. Of course, we always, you know, donations are helpful. I've got now 4 lawyers, you know, and lawyers are very expensive people, but we need them for, you know, various things. And so donations are good. Spreading the word about the petition, like if you have a lot of followers, if you have, you know, just letting people know about this petition, because, you know, we've got a long way to go to my goal of 500,000, but we do have 83,000 and growing, and I think we can do it with everybody's help.
And you're also going to be at World CryptoCon speaking on this, and I'm sure other things. And yeah, I mean, for those of you that are watching on my channel, I mean, obviously freeross.org is right there in the title. And then there's the freeross.org/petition. And, you know, go there, you know, fill it out, sign it, and just read. Just read on the site to learn more details. Now, I'm obviously and admittedly fairly ignorant to this whole situation. As of today, this is the first time I've really started diving in. Obviously, Crypto loves much more familiar with the whole case and everything else. So but I find this, it's funny because I used to be a fight promoter, and a guy that used to fight for me was arrested for beating a cop at 3:30 in the morning, after hours at a bar. And Dr. Phil Show called me because his parents were, basically trying to get national attention for this whole case. And his name was Nico. And basically, he was really, really intoxicated outside the bar, basically relieving himself in a bush. A cop in little short shorts and a little polo came up to him and put his hands on him, didn't announce that he was a police officer at all. And Nico beat this dude up, right? He thought he was just some perv in a bush, messing with him. And I saw the whole video, the whole nine. They called me on. I was actually on Dr. Phil, talking about, they wanted me to basically say, oh yeah, he was a punk, he was a mean guy, all this bad stuff. He was so railroaded in his case because it involved a police officer. I watched all the videos. I was like the last person that they had on the show, and it was from my home through video, satellite or whatever it was. They sent me a couple laptops and stuff. Anyway, after watching all of the content, watching the video of everything happening, watching everything, it was such a railroad job, and I flat out said, this is bogus. Like that episode never aired. And I kid you not, I remember seeing Dr. Phil's head just drop, like, oh my God, because they expected me to talk all this trash about Nico, but the fact of the matter is it's a railroad job because it involved a police officer who didn't even announce himself as a police officer. He got his ass beat. And it's those kinds of situations like Ross that, look, when people are on a mission, it's very easy for them to do things like this to the public. And something should absolutely be done. But the question is what? What can anybody do? You're fighting. You're probably going to spend the whole rest of your life fighting this case, hopefully successfully. But then it's just going to happen again to someone else and someone else and someone else until somebody actually changes the way things work.
Well, just to say, this is not only about Ross for me anymore, although of course that is my priority, but he isn't unique. You're right. And I after, like I said, meeting the families and the children, yes, things got to change. This is an un-American. This is against our values as a free people, as people who care about mercy and second chances and fairness. And I'm not saying that, there aren't people who do need to be, society needs to be protected from, but that is not who is filling our prisons to overflowing. And yes, so I agree with you. It needs to be a bigger movement. And I hope, and Ross hopes, that his case can be a spotlight onto the kind of methods and egregious violations that the government uses to go after people.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's like I always look back because in school they made us read 1984, which is this crazy book where Big Brother is watching, and we have doublespeak and all this stuff going on, and I see this happening all the time. We lose our security, we lose our privacy. Even Google, which we thought was supposed to do no evil, they removed that from their main documents. That's no longer there. All this stuff, we're losing all of our privacy in terms of this fear-based government where we're supposed to just do as we're told, not do otherwise because I fear. I don't want to know what happens. I fear that. And it's just, I think this is, like you were saying, I mean, this is about Ross, but this is also about more than Ross because every single person is, our lives, our freedoms are at stake with this type of thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely right.
And why don't you tell them what kind of surveillance they did and maybe go into what that writ to the Supreme Court was for and how it got denied?
Yeah. So basically the question, one of Ross's questions before the Supreme Court is, does the government violate the Fourth Amendment, which is our right to privacy, basically, by surveilling without a warrant and without probable cause all of our internet history and browsing habits. And basically, we were saying, no, it doesn't. And that's what they did to Ross. And basically, the Supreme Court kicked the can down the road. They punted it. They're like, not addressing it. Meanwhile, this leaves us totally open and vulnerable to the government secretly, without oversight, delving into all of our internet activity. And, look, you can say I have nothing to hide. And I personally don't really feel like I do have anything to hide. But, except, maybe they don't like my politics, or maybe they don't like me saying things, that they don't like, or whatever. But they can use it to persecute people, but also to blackmail people, like judges or Congress people and things like that. There's all kinds of nefarious uses for being able to spy on people without oversight. And this is exactly what they can do. And it's just so far fine with the courts.
I saw,
but it's not fine if it's the cell phone, which is so bizarre.
Well, tracking, yeah, that's right. Now, yeah, that's right. So they judged in Carpenter that that the government has to get a warrant. They can still track people, but they have to get a warrant. Big deal. They can get a warrant very easily, but then it's not secret. They can't do that anymore. But they said with a computer and a laptop, you can. Now, a phone is a computer. A laptop is a phone. I mean, it's like they're the same. And so they're parsing it. And I guess, they just didn't rule on it broadly. And so none of us are protected,
Yeah, and not even by the laws of our own country, because I saw that there was an interview with Snowden where he was asked directly about what went on with Ross's case, and he said, what was done, and there's these 5 Eyes, which is 5 countries that work together, and so without directly asking another country, they can do stuff that's illegal in your country, but they can do that type of investigative work for your country. So they all kind of, United States, I think, Australia, New Zealand, England, maybe Canada as well. They all kind of work together, doing each other's dirty work, circumventing the law.
So they use diplomatic immunity type situations for doing whatever. I see. That's crazy.
Yep.
I just assume that everything I do is watched and monitored by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really.
INSA.
Yeah, but I was growing up, I didn't assume that. You never even thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's become a surveillance state. And it's like people are just getting used to it, And I mean, I'm getting
right.
And
it's like we're so grateful for our technology, but all it does.
I got to be honest with that. Every time I go, like I just took my wife to a Fall Out Boy concert. Rita was packed. And I cannot help but to constantly be kind of looking over my shoulder for what kind of craziness could happen. You know what I mean? And it's just, I have 4 kids. I have a family. I'm old now. I'm just an old fat guy. I'm tired. I just kind of, just like, in The Network, where the guy goes on his big rant about, society. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm the fat guy. I'm complacent. I'm tired. I fought my fight already. And just to survive this long, and so now I'm just like, go ahead and watch me. I hope you like my ass when I get out of the shower. I don't really care anymore. It should not be the way it is. But for me, it's just like, I mean, I commend you, because you've got a big fight, and I don't know, it's difficult for me because I've kind of just thrown my hands in the air, like, go ahead and watch me. Like, I hope you enjoy the show. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I kind of like that too, because if I didn't have Google Maps, I would be lost most of the time. And I'm like, okay, go ahead and follow me because I got to find where I'm going.
Right.
I understand the thinking, but at the same time, look, you cannot have a free life if you don't have a private life. If you're being surveilled, I'm sorry, we're on a slippery slope to tyranny, big time.
Mm-hmm.
And
who are they actually surveilling, though?
Everybody.
I mean, well, okay, maybe passively. Like, yes, I know that, like, if you use certain key trigger words on your phone, it triggers some database in the NSA to start, they checking and listening for the next 25 or 30 seconds to see what the conversation's about. And I I don't know. All I know is shit I've seen in movies. Let's be honest. But if I'm not doing anything, they can watch me all they want. They're going to get bored and go somewhere else at some point. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm up to no good on any level, then yes, they're probably going to want to keep their eye on me.
It's not only that. It's not. It's, look, all kinds of things are revealed our religious interests, our sexual orientation, our political affiliations. People are, feel intimidated to not speak the truth or what they feel is the truth. And these things could be used against people. Now, maybe they're not doing it to you, and that's good. But the point is the principle of the thing. And it should not be open season for the government to delve into all of our privacy. And they can, and they do. If they want to, if you are targeted, they do. And they don't have to get a warrant. And we have a Fourth Amendment for a reason, although I don't know how much impact it has anymore, that our founders thought. The government should not be able to go in and rummage around in your home or whatever, in your papers, is what they said, without a proper warrant.
And it's like all the things that the founding fathers left England because of, things that they wanted, like privacy, like freedom of speech, like freedom of association, all of these things which we left England to have, now are just disappearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like we're living under the crown.
Yeah.
It's
we just got to pull our crypto, man. Just pull our Bitcoin and go buy our own island.
Definitely.
That's what we need to do.
Definitely.
So what's
see,
what's the next step? You have this petition. Was the 500,000 signatures that you're looking for, was that like extended by any particular person, or is this like 500,000 that should get Trump's attention? That was my goal.
I decided it was a really big goal, but it was achievable with enough work and enough people, spreading the word. I think it's achievable. And so I think it's pretty impressive. So
it might be easier to just come up with a better looking hairpiece, send that to Trump in a nice box with a nice letter saying, hey, by the way, free Ross. That might help. Lord knows the man needs it. So you've got 4 lawyers. What happened to Ross's assets? Have they been completely frozen? Like, do you not have access to any?
Oh, not
frozen. They were sold.
They were seized by the government. It was civil asset forfeiture. They were seized. And by the way, Ross, it's not determined how the Bitcoin on his laptop got there, but he was trading Bitcoin when it was very cheap. In fact, I even said to him, should I get into it? And he said, no, Mom, it's too volatile. And I'm like, God, I wish I hadn't listened to him. It was like, 50 cents or something. But he was doing currency trading. He was doing, all kinds. So, but in any case, they just took all the money off of his laptop, and they, I think they just seized it. They applied it to their fine of $183 million that they have against him. And
$183 million fine.
Yeah, but now it's down to 140
plus 40
million or something like that. And then all the money on the Silk Road site in counts was also seized and auctioned off. And I've had people say, hey, one guy said I had gold on there and it was perfectly legal, and they just took it. And by the way, just to say something else that was on Silk Road, because I've been told this firsthand, is that parents of children with life-threatening seizures got CBD oil that was saving their kids. They got it on Silk Road. And once that the site was taken down, they were desperate. You don't hear about stuff like that. All you hear about is fake stuff like, oh my God, human organs. No, they weren't.
Yeah, I think
I thought you could get that CBD oil anywhere.
Pardon me?
I thought you could get that hemp oil anywhere.
Not back then.
Not then.
It's only recently.
And also some of it, maybe some of it had THC in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was helping their seizures.
But I think that's really important to share that with everyone, because, I was never on Silk Road, but hearing the things that are on there, like CBD oil and marijuana, which are now legal in most states, like raw, unpasteurized milk, which is, granted, it's not legal in the United States because they fear.
Well, in some states it is.
Yeah, but it's milk, stuff like that, and also like the studies that you mentioned in some videos I saw where actually violent crimes associated with drugs went down significantly due to Silk Road. It actually saved lives. Like, that stuff doesn't get talked about. Instead, they talk about hitmen and whatever. But, like,
Well, that's more exciting.
But like, I think that's the narrative we need to start talking about. That like Silk Road actually saved lives, potentially. Yeah.
I've had people write me to tell me that Silk Road saved their life, and they would support Ross.
And
So-
also how the Silk Road was under government control for a year, while 2 out of 6 of the people who died due to Silk Road died. So like, it was the
2 out
government
of
that
6
killed a third of the people. From
What?
Actually, they seized the server. It wasn't it wasn't a year. It was June before, I believe, and it was taken down in October. But you're right about the alleged overdose deaths. Although we hired a pathologist who said there's no way you can prove at all that was what it was from. But the agents though were on there for a year, about a year, maybe a little less.
Can you also talk about how they seized the server? Because apparently, like, that was, how did that...
Well, the real story there to me, and don't ask me to get technical and explain it because I'll make a fool of myself, but the real thing is, to me, the thing is that it's obvious that the government FBI agent who claimed to have found it was lying, because every expert in the world was saying he was lying, that it didn't make sense, it was gibberish, and they flat out said it was a lie. And then Robert Graham, for example, who's an expert, and he said, I think it was the NSA, and I think he's lying. And then his excuse was, he goes, darn, I didn't save my work, so I can't prove I'm not lying. And I'm like, oh, the dog ate your evidence or what? Give me a break. The most important case of your career, and you didn't back it up? They don't have automatic
trial?
No, didn't even go to trial. This didn't even go to trial.
What?
That the defense called for an evidentiary hearing, and to get to the bottom of it, the judge denied that, and Ross didn't claim standing with his lawyer's advice, and so it was just dropped. And she accepted the FBI agent Tarbell's explanation.
I don't understand. How was he convicted? Like, if there was no trial?
No. There was no trial about the server.
Oh,
In
yeah,
fact,
no, I'm
that
speaking,
agent-
sorry.
That agent was not brought to trial. He was the main agent in the whole thing. He was Christopher Tarbell. He signed the criminal complaint. He supposedly found the server, all this stuff, and he was not a government witness. They didn't bring him in to be questioned.
There's so many holes in this case, and
That's
it's
exactly
just
what I was thinking.
Endless.
there's so
It's
many,
kinda
and it's just like
ridiculous.
how can we as American citizens or people of the world, how can we let this type of stuff happen?
I'm trying not to let it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I need the help of people. I need a grassroots movement of people around the world, and a lot of people around the world are signing the petition, and they get in touch with me, and it's not just in this country. I mean, look, governments everywhere are growing and intruding. It's not just in this country, although it's upsetting for me here because I feel like, there's a lot of very good values in our.
We're supposed to be setting the high standard.
Yeah, I mean, and
Right.
it's being hijacked. I believe it's being hijacked. And so.
Lyn, you've told me a few things that made you think Trump might look at this carefully. Do you want to go through those elements, or?
Well, I mean, look, Chuck Schumer and Creeper are no friends of Trump either. And so I would hope that he would see that the same people that he, has a lot of problems with were after Ross too. Also surveillance, that sort of thing. And so I would hope that he, and of course then there's the fake news that Trump talks about a lot, that was definitely Ross was victim of. And so I hope that the president can see that the same forces that he believes are after him were after Ross too. I mean, and I think that, as far as Chuck Schumer and Pete Bharara go, and the FBI, and Mueller's FBI, by the way, is who it was, I believe there is a lot of corruption there.
Yeah, so definitely, I mean, people watching this, like, share this video with your friends, with your family, watch other videos on this stuff, and if you believe this stuff, definitely go sign the petition. or share the
And get
petition
your
with
friends
people.
to sign it.
Yeah.
You know, spread it around. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have to be the change we want to see in the world. If we want to live in a world that doesn't infringe on our freedoms, we need to be that change. We need to step up and do it. And I think in the grassroots movement, it relies upon us. It's from a bottom up instead of from a top down. Because when we have the top down, that's when we see oppression of everybody. That's when we see all of our freedoms disappearing.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, I'm getting heated.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So you visit Ross. How is he doing?
Well, right now it's kind of very difficult because being the peaceful, nonviolent person that Ross is, he refused to participate in an assault on another inmate. I mean, just to let people know, Ross's security level score, where they decide to put people, would put him in a low security prison, even with the charges against him. But because of the life sentence, this barbaric sentence that he's given, he's been put into a maximum security prison with violent gangs and violent people, and it's a very dangerous place. Stabbings, beatings, all kinds of things. So,
Where's he being held?
USP Florence in Florence, Colorado.
And it's a federal facility.
Yeah, it's federal. And so Ross wouldn't, Ross doesn't want to go beat somebody up. That is not who he is, and he refused. But if you refuse, then you become a target. And so you don't defy. So he checked himself into protective custody, but essentially that means he's in solitary. He's been in solitary. It's been since the 13th. So, has it been the 13th? I don't know. I'm sorry. I think it's been about that long. And so, that's kind of rough. But, Ross is one of these people that has the best attitude. I mean, he really does. It's like, said, yeah, well, I'm just treating it like a meditation retreat, and I'm meditating, and I'm, really trying to, just, catch up on my sleep, and, he's just being really positive, but he isn't even allowed to have his books or anything in there.
Have you taken this whole situation to like Alex Jones or any of those guys?
Alex has interviewed me,
Okay.
and David Knight several times, and they've been great.
This is right up their alley.
Yeah, they've been.
Of course, Alex has problems of his own now. He's being
Yeah,
shut.
yeah, he's exactly. But so Ross right now, and so also his phone calls have been cut off. Basically, he never had email privileges because it's an internet crime. I mean, violent gang leaders with national networks who can start riots have email privileges in there, and Ross doesn't, because Ross is so scary. And they don't understand him. They don't really even understand why he's there. Kind of like, what is he doing here? Because he's just a very peaceful, laid back, sweet, mellow person. And so anyway, right now it's pretty difficult. But hopefully it's temporary. I don't know how long it's going to go on. And it used to be I could visit him in person, but now it's through a monitor and terrible audio, and so it's
Because of the solitary, or
because he's in what's called the SHU, which is
the
segregated
shoe?
housing. Yeah.
So
Segregated housing unit, SHU.
Mhm.
And he had his own cell, which actually he liked, but it's either, or you might have somebody in there with you some of the time, so it's not strictly solitary, but solitary a lot. And you're in there 23 hours. Well, you're in there, you don't get outside, and when you get outside, it's in a cage, basically an outdoor cage, 3 times a week or something. Otherwise, you're in that cell the whole time. It's pretty intense.
With
So that's
nothing to do, like nothing to read, except for the conversations with you, no one to talk to.
Yeah, they did allow him to have a Bible to read, so maybe he's reading the Bible. And conversations, any visitor,
Can he still get his mail if people send him letters?
He can get mail, physical mail, and he can, mail if he can get stamps.
If people wanted to send him mail, where would they send it?
The address is on the website. Look under, there's a contact at the footer, and there's also a take action page, and it's on there.
Yeah, guys, I encourage you, write to him. Thank him for what he's done in the space, if you believe that's necessary, because he's probably lonely in there. Like, imagine what it would be like being by yourself for a long time. I've written a letter to
Pretty
him.
boy like him is not lonely. Imprisoned. No, I'm kidding. Bad joke. Bad joke. He's
Yeah.
you know, a lot of unwanted attention, but
You know, you'd be surprised. I think that's really not so big a problem anymore. At least that's
really,
yeah.
that's
Thank
good.
God.
But definitely not in solitary.
But he gets, well, no, even in the population. But I think that's something they really crack down on or something. I don't know, but he's bored. That's a big part. He's very, very bored, and
You can always bulk up.
Guys, write him and tell him what's going on in crypto land. Like, tell him about how Ripple's being manipulated, and tell him about how all these different things. You know?
Yeah.
Have you gone in any like national? You know, like has anybody in national like mainstream media touched this at all?
Well, we've turned down a fair amount of it because, frankly, we've been. I just, they've twisted
Misquote. Yeah.
that I'm afraid of them. We've turned down some big media but honestly, it's hard to trust the mainstream media. It just is.
You can't get a lawyer to like lay down stipulations and things like that. You know, like this has to be a straight through interview, no editing, that kind of thing.
The publisher and the editor no, can't do that. Lawyers don't get to tell the media what to say.
No, I know of some interviews that have happened under very strict guidelines that were legally binding. You know, I mean, you're talking national
interview. You mean? Well,
yeah,
I guess so. Yeah, that could be. There hasn't been setting up an interview within the prison is not easy.
Oh no, I meant for you. I meant you drawing more attention to the case and to the situation. Like if there's been any mainstream opportunities for you to do live or on camera interviews, even segments.
There have been some, and some of them we've gotten given the shaft, frankly. But others have been fair, but not. Yeah,
it's controlled.
To me,
I know.
It's and what they're going to misquote me, or they're going to go into a whole big long thing about all the sensationalistic stuff. And what am I going to do about it? Sue them? What am I supposed to do about it? They've got a very loud voice, and I don't. And this has happened. Look, there have been, like, Wired is a perfect example of this 2-part series they had that was so full of crap. And
really?
I'm like, yes.
I would think Wired would be like a supporter.
No.
Wow, I'm ignorant.
They wouldn't. I don't know if they're a supporter or non-supporter. It's just that they published this thing, and it was extremely distorted, I thought. And in fact, I wrote a rebuttal, but big deal. It's on my blog. It's not in Wired.
They might have the interview with Lyn, but then they say that Silk Road was a totally different thing than it really was. Like they'll talk about all the stuff on it for sale that wasn't actually there for sale.
Well, and that's the thing that's
had a cover. Newsweek had a cover of all this stuff that wasn't even true. What am I going to do? Newsweek's cover already came out.
They're going to say whatever's going to get them the most likes and shares anymore. That's the thing that sucks.
That's why nobody believes them anymore. It's like they're just so, I don't think a lot of people believe what they read in the media. I mean, they shouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
So anything else that you'd like people to know about the case? Anything else that we didn't talk about?
We've got a very dense website if you want to delve into it. And we're actually about to publish, it's actually going to be a written and an accompanying audio version that is going to be a narrative of the case of the evidence. So the public evidence, we don't have access to everything is sealed and encrypted and undisclosed, there's tons, which I don't know why, since it's over, why doesn't the government unseal everything and disclose it? But they won't. But even so, it's pretty interesting. And we're going to launch that very soon in October. And that'll be, a kind of a more fun way to kind of delve into this because it is pretty dense. And
you have a way for people to donate money as a tax deduction?
No, we can't. Right now we do not. It's a 501c3 cannot benefit an individual, as far as I know.
Oh, okay. This is tax deductible option. Help Ross and others at the American Black Cross, a 501c3.
Oh, it does on the website?
Yeah, I'm on your website right now. I just click donate. I'm
Okay.
just showing everybody what the
Well, I'm not sure that that's still operating because of Cody Wilson's thing. He was kind of involved in it, but I don't think, yeah. But he was helping us with a nonprofit and Ross's project, but I don't know who'd be running it now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of showing everybody your website a little bit while you guys are chatting. There's definitely a lot of stuff on here. Is there a case transcript on here anywhere? Or is that available anywhere?
I believe a case transcript, or you mean a trial transcript?
Yeah, sorry, I'm like looking at something and saying something different.
It is available. Sasha, is the trial transcript available?
I think it's just on Pacer. You know, Lynn, I should give you all these documents
I have the transcripts.
Yeah. You could put that on the website.
That'd be really good to have on there, because I, for one, would go through and probably read all of it. And there's so much now that I personally, like I said, I've been playing devil's advocate a lot tonight, not to be an asshole, just because I'm very ignorant, and I'm kind of learning as everybody talks. But this is something that, this kind of thing, believe it or not, is actually very near and dear to me, and it is scary. Like, I just watched the movie V again, for like the 8th time recently this week, and everything that's said in that movie V couldn't be closer to reality today. And it's scary when you're raising a family in an environment like this, where basically, somebody with more money, more power, the government, whoever, can literally just do pretty much anything they want to with no recourse. Yeah. And it is scary.
I forget where I got the statistic, but they say the average American commits 3 crimes every day. So it's,
3 felonies a day.
3 felonies, yeah. Oh, maybe Lynn, you were the one that told me that.
It's illegal to talk to aliens in one state. I forget which one it is. But that's a real law. Like, you can't talk to aliens.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're protected.
Wow.
I feel safer now, don't you? But it's really for your 4 kids, Jason. It's for the future. These kids, do you want them to live in a, a totalitarian surveillance state? No. No.
I don't want them to. Unfortunately, they do.
Well, I think we're on a slippery slope to getting a lot worse.
Yeah.
We're having this discussion, aren't we?
Right.
I'm afraid it's going to get a lot worse. So
I also think that, this has a lot of parallels with the blockchain, with Bitcoin and everything, because while it is getting worse on one hand, it is kind of getting better on the one hand, because separating money from government takes the power away from them. And that way we can put our money where our interests lie and actually have things that are on record on the blockchain. So, like, it's interesting to me to see all these parallels going on with it, and I hope that we can really make a difference in what's going on. I hope that Ross's time in prison isn't in vain, and I hope that we can really make a difference and hopefully get some people to listen that there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that just doesn't add up with this case.
Yes, and really, in the big picture, it's a race for the future. That's what we're in. What kind of future are we going to have? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be government control and surveillance and telling us what to do and what we can't do? Or is it going to be more innovation and freedom? Pardon me?
If that's where the money is, yes, that's what we're going to have. I mean, the sad truth is that the prison business is exactly that. It's a business. Everything that all of this control, it's all feeding the pockets of a few. And, let's face it, for I don't know. This is just depressing. I mean, when you really think about it, you put things into perspective, it really is depressing, because the reality is what can be done? I mean, really, what can be done? Okay, so we're going to have Bitcoin. We're going to have cryptocurrencies. People are going to be able to transact money, privately if they want to. Okay, cool. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a small drop in the bucket overall. And it's what has to happen to actually rally people. You need money, you need people in positions of power. For stuff like this to change, it could take decades of lobbying, truly positioning the right people in the right positions to have an impact on changing the laws necessary to impact change long term. I think this is bigger than just a grassroots movement. This is if you want to fight in a game of chess, you have to be as strategic and well positioned as your opponent. And while I look at this as a very worthwhile effort, the reality is, without the resources to truly combat this in a strategic way, it's difficult to feel anything but powerless.
So what are you going to do? Roll over and just let them take over our lives and surveil everything we do?
Drink my beer.
Until they...
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
You can't see me drinking my beer, but... No, it's not at all that I want to roll over. I think it's just one of those things that, look, if the next year, 2 years, 3 years starts making multi-millionaires out of the lot that's watching this video right now, and everyone else that's gotten into crypto with a bit of foresight, you're going to be able to reach a lot of people with more resources to be more impactful on this mission. Exactly. I think ultimately...
I'd like the support of those people.
Huh?
I would like the support of those people. I agree with you that it could be.
Well, money is power. And, and I think if anything, the government is definitely afraid of the money and the power that the people they've been neglecting and controlling and manipulating and forcing into bad situations for so long. They're actually afraid of us kind of, this whole transition of wealth that's going on. I do believe that there is a big part of them that's afraid of us obtaining the resources to be combative, to be a strength or a power. And so my hope is, and this is one of the things that I talk about on my channel often, it's the nature of this transfer of wealth. Prior to last year, I was making 6 figures in the mortgage industry. This year, I do much better than that. And, it's the masses, those that follow us on YouTube, those that are actively pursuing investments in cryptocurrency in a down market, buying while others are fearful. Once this market turns around again, there are going to be a lot of new, rich, pissed off people that are going to have a lot of bones to pick. And so the question is, what happens then? And so, you reaching these people now could very well help you in the next year or two. Is my hope. And that's basically what I'm saying in a long drawn out, half buzzed manner, that I commend you, and I do. And I really hope that this all works out for you in the long run. And Ross, I couldn't imagine to have you as a mom, Ross is extremely lucky to have you out here fighting for him, doing everything that you're doing for him. And I just want to say, on his behalf, I don't know the man, but thank you for just being an amazing super mom, doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
If I ever go to prison, I'm calling you to help.
Yeah, well.
I'll call you, Mom.
I need help, guys. I need help. I'm tired. It's very exhausting, and I'll keep going. I'm not going to stop, but I need help, and I appreciate help, because it's been relentless. It's been 5 years of it. And I'll keep going. But yeah, people like Sasha, who's been amazingly helpful and such a good friend, and so many others, and glad to have you guys. I couldn't do without that kind of support. I really couldn't. Yeah.
So guys watching, here's your checklist. Go to freeross.org, read up on it, donate,
sign the petition.
Share this video with your friends. Talk with your friends about it. Find politicians, lawyers, whoever can help. Talk with them about it. Yeah.
And go to World CryptoCon.
Yeah.
We all have links in our description. Click the link. Get your tickets. Go meet Lyn in person. Give the woman a nice warm hug and flip her some damn Bitcoin to help her free Ross.
Thank you. Yes. And it'll be fun too.
Lyn, is there going to be a boxing match or something, debate style in the boxing ring?
I'm hoping for a debate. We're going to have a debate boxing style, but I'm not sure how that's coming together. We'll see.
A debate
there's a rumor that there's going to be some YouTubers debating. I don't know. If
I told Chad if it were kickboxing, I might jump in. I don't really like just being able to use my hands. I got to head kick somebody, or it's no fun for me.
No, it's not
It's
real
verbal.
boxing.
It's verbal.
Mental boxing.
Oh, mental boxing. Oh,
boxing.
well, I mean, I was in MMA for 6 years, so I hear boxing, and I'm like, oh, well, that's part of it. I can jump in if you throw a couple other tools in there for me. Mental boxing. So this is a triathlon of thought. I've already forgotten half of everything I've ever known, so I don't think I'll be very competitive there. All right. Well, we're about an hour and 10 minutes. I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah,
I'm definitely looking forward to meeting. Well, I'll see you again. I'm sure Crypto Love. Sasha, I assume you're going to World CryptoCon.
I'll be
Oh,
there.
yeah. He's gonna be
All
there.
right. Lyn will be there. I'm celebrating my 41st birthday out there. So if I don't remember anybody, do not hold it against me. But I will be a good time, I promise.
That'll be great. Thanks so much. Thanks.
All
so much.
right, folks. Till next time, folks, crow your coins. I'll see you again real soon. Click the link in the description, freeross.org. Go check it out. Do some reading. I'm going to be doing the same thing right now. Until next time, see you guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, do what Crow says.
Bye.